Blog Talk Radio.
Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to another episode of Light Sports Ramble. As always, my pleasure to be joined by my co-host, Evan Watallison, and myself. I'll tell you what, Evan, we got to try and make it chipper today. It's Packer Recap Day. It is Monday. But, we talked in the pre-chat, and there's just not a lot to be happy about in the whole state of Wisconsin. Wisconsin football, Packers football on Thursday on Thanksgiving. I had called my dad and said, when do the Packers play after the game? Because whatever I watched certainly was not football. I almost went to the point of saying I was embarrassed on Thanksgiving to watch that game. I'm going to do like I always do on Monday, let you take it away with the Packer recap. We'll get right into it because we have a lot to discuss, and not a lot to discuss positively about this game, but a lot of question marks. A lot of things that we saw on Thursday. We had some Twitter response about how the Packers are going to move forward from this. Not a lot of positive things, but I'm going to let you take over, recap the game, give the listeners a quick recap of what went on Thanksgiving.
I think I could count on one hand 6 positives in the game. I'm going to start with the positives since you want me to try to be chipper. There was Mason Crosby's 57-yard field goal that got the Packers on the board to tie back up at 3. 4 turnovers, which one was a defensive touchdown, which is really good to see on a defense that hasn't been forcing turnovers. So that's 5 of the good things to happen: 4 turnovers, and then the field goal, and then the final good thing to happen is the game ended.
I agree with you there.
That when the game finally ended, that was a good thing.
I couldn't wait for the Cowboy game to get started. I'll tell you what. It was like, are you kidding me? And the game, like I said, the game was over. I called my dad, said, when did the Packers play? But yeah, it was it was horrific to watch that game, Evan. So, some positive things, but get into a little bit of the recap. For those that might have flipped through that aren't Packer fans. Give them a quick recap of what happened on Thursday, why we feel so, I guess the word is disgusted. That's what I feel right now, disgusted.
The Packers got their tails handed to them. Detroit came out, they dominated the game. Their offensive line dominated, their defensive line dominated. Jeremy Ross had a great game. And we all, Packer fans, we all remember that name. Packers shipped him to the curb earlier in the season due to his fumbleitis and having a tendency to muff kickoffs, and he ends up having a big game. And the secondary, other than the 2 interceptions, was horrible. Devon House couldn't cover, he couldn't cover a stationary object, let alone a receiver on Thursday. And Jeremy Ross even made him look silly, both as a receiver and as a returner. I believe McCarthy at his press conference Friday morning, which he decided to have at 7:30 in the morning Friday morning, mentioned that there's, between the defense and the special teams, 20 missed tackles. And the defensive line, especially B.J. Raji, most of the game looked like he was on roller skates. That's the push the Lions were getting. And the offensive coordinator of the Lions was just out-coaching the defensive staff of the Packers. Anytime the Packers were a nickel with the 2 defensive linemen, they would run the football and gash them for huge yards. Then they would throw an extra D lineman on the field. The Lions would throw and gash them for big yardage. So anything the Packers tried to do was not working. And then offensively, Matt Flynn played horrible. He also had no time to even throw the football. I believe Detroit got 8 sacks on the game. You can correct me if I'm wrong. I don't have the stats in front of me today. We just, as McCarthy said it best, the Lions came at them and Packers didn't respond. I think in the pre-show, I just said that the Lions punched the Packers in the mouth, and the Packers just crawled in the corner, laid on the floor in the fetal position with their tail between the legs and cried rather than do anything about it. So that's pretty much the recap right there. Is the Packers got dominated, and Detroit looked like one of the more dominant football teams in the league.
Yeah, well, like I said on Friday, Evan, I called my father, who's 82 years old, and simply put, he said the Packers got the crap, and that's the G-rated version, kicked out of them and then the lines turned around and rubbed their face in it. And again, I kept that very G-rated because the language that he used would not be suitable for Blog Talk Radio. The nice thing is, Evan, we've got a call.
No, it wasn't. You shared the R version with me off the air. Yeah, that would be suitable for any radio station unless it's satellite radio, and even then it's pushing it.
Yeah, that we might not be broadcasting live anymore after that version, but it's true. It was just we went out, we got totally dominated. Like I said, Evan, we actually do have a caller. I recognize the area code, and I think it might be Al calling in. So I'm gonna click on. We actually have a caller on our show, Evan, and we'll talk a little bit of Packers. Good evening. This is Troy. Who am I talking with?
Hey, Mike in Pittsburgh. How's it going, guys?
Hey, Mike. How you doing, bud?
Good. How you doing?
What do you?
Pretty good. Hey, well, the frustrating thing here for me is the Packers finally got a running game this year with Lacey, and then in the last 5 games, 0-4-1. And the thing that everyone doesn't realize is the Packers were right there, in my opinion, with the Saints, Seattle, to go to the Super Bowl, and it's a year wasted. It's an opportunity with Rodgers where he has a running game, things are going great, and these years don't happen all the time. Sometimes people take these for granted. I really think the Packers had everything set up for them, especially in the division, the way Detroit and Chicago are on and off. It's just a wasted year. A wasted year where, Rodgers could have got his second, Super Bowl and, right in there with Eli and Roethlisberger. And, that's the frustrating thing is I really think with the running game this year, they really had something going.
Yeah, I think you nailed it right on the head. Drafting Eddie Lacy and James Starks finally healthy, the running game was doing something, and then the unfortunate situation that, Rodgers gets hurt. The Packers aren't prepared for Rodgers' injury. They thought they were, but Seneca Wallace then gets hurt, and Posey and Flynn are ineffective. This has been a wasted year, and they were shaped up to possibly compete with the Saints and the Seahawks and the 49ers to make a run into the Super Bowl. And now, with the way the defense is playing, as I call them in the pre-show, they're a front-running defense where everything's going well. The defense does well, but they're not good in tight situations. And as you said, it's just been a wasted year. I think you nailed it right on the head.
Yeah, I'm going to agree with both of you. Mike, thanks for calling in, bud. Do appreciate it. But I totally agree. I thought that with Eddie Lacy and the way that he is pounding the ball, and I've said this in a few episodes, he reminds me of Marshawn Lynch and that powerful running back. I think James Starks was coming on, and I think we had that running game going, which was allowing Rodgers the opportunity for once in his lifetime, since he's been the starter, to actually have a true play-action pass opportunity. Teams had to actually respect that play action, and then he gets hurt. And even that, when he got hurt, I thought we were going to have enough to at least weather the storm. But the way that we went out on Thursday, Evan, it was terrible. And now we're in a must-win all 4 games and get a lot of help. I mean, I'm going to give you the question at the end of the show. Is our season over? I mean, we're not mathematically eliminated, but there are way too many questions going on right now when I saw it on Thursday. And I'm going to start right here, and I know, Mike, you're still on the line, so I may go back to you here shortly. But the first thing that I saw is that offensive line, even with the injuries we had to Balaga in the preseason and no Sherrod coming in, we kind of had a makeshift line in the beginning of the year, and it took us a little bit. Lacey had the concussion, but after those things, it seemed like we had things going. And then lately, Evan, it just seemed like we're getting injuries on the line, and we've got to move Dietrich Smith getting hurt. TJ Lang goes in at center. Barclay gets hurt. Then we've got to put our most, I don't even know what to call him. Marshall Newhouse shouldn't be on the field.
Turnstile.
I mean, I think you had tweeted out, his best block is the lookout block because he couldn't do anything. Yeah. On that safety, did he even get out of his stance to block Sue? Because it didn't look like it.
No, he was in a guard on that play too for whatever reason. I don't know why they didn't put Lane Taylor in there, who's a natural guard. Lane Taylor would have at least stood a chance. But yeah, I don't even think he got a hand up to.
Yeah, it was crazy. I mean, that was the perfect example of a lookout block, and that's all he's done. You and I have talked about it. The guy doesn't even deserve to be on that field playing, and that's what we have to deal with. And with the injuries going on, yeah. That's where it comes. Where Mike is saying the frustration and an opportunity lost, because when you looked at the way the team was set up, when we had Rodgers and Cobb and Lacey, we could offensively protect our defense. Like you're saying, Evan, front-running defense. We were able to put points on the board, so the defense wasn't expected to make those big plays. And it'll lead me into what we were talking about. Finally, the defense does something. Finally, we score a defensive touchdown. We've got interceptions. We only had one sack. We didn't get a lot of sacks. But the problem we had is...
I think that sack was the only time Stafford was even touched, too.
Yep, that's the only time he was touched. The pressures were horrendous. We couldn't get anywhere near Stafford. But it's going to bring me into this, Evan. We score the defensive touchdown, and I'm thinking, this is great. We finally made a play. Then we get an interception. But you and I talked about it in the pre-chat. 3 points off those other 3 turnovers. The offense did nothing. We had a golden opportunity. Yeah. Tramon Williams, interception, tack on 15 yards for unnecessary roughness.
They almost had his head ripped off.
And we go 3 and out and have to punt the ball. So right now what we're looking at after 12 games is an offense that can't do anything, a defense that cannot make a big play, and when they do, the offense isn't helping them out. So where do you think we go from here, Evan? 4 games to go, and a defense that created some turnovers that we haven't done in the past, but now offensively we can't do anything. What do you think McCarthy has to do moving forward from here on out?
Go to the close church by Lambeau Field, find a pew, get on his knees, and pray that Aaron Rodgers gets cleared to play on Sunday. Because if Aaron Rodgers can't go on Sunday, as bad as the Falcons have been this year, I don't see Matt Flynn or Scott Tolzien being able to beat the Falcons. And if the Packers lose to the Falcons, their playoff hopes are gone.
Yeah, they're gone.
So that's probably the only thing McCarthy can do right now, because he's trying to tail game plans to Tolzien, doesn't work. Tail game plans to Matt Flynn, doesn't work. The defense couldn't stop a Pop Warner team right now, it looks like, let alone an NFL team. So I think that's the only option he has right now, is pray that Rodgers gets cleared.
I would agree, and I didn't get to see the whole thing this morning. And, of course, like we said, I have a real job. I didn't have a lot of time to sit around and play on NFL.com and NFL Network and ESPN today, but I saw something scroll across about Rodgers and unlikely to play and maybe the rest of the season. So I don't know. I have to look into that, but I agree.
I can fill you in a little bit there.
Yeah, fill me in on that, because I only saw it scroll across the bottom of the screen, and like I said, I didn't have time to actually get into it today and look at NFL.com or anything like that.
Yeah. Ian Rappaport yesterday had mentioned that for Rodgers to play on Sunday at this point, it would be basically a miracle. It's very unlikely that he'll even be cleared to play this week.
Uh-huh.
And that if the Packers fall out of playoff contention, that they're going to consider IRing Rodgers and sitting them out for the remainder of the season, rather than put him back out there on a team that's going nowhere. And then Rodgers told Fox Sports Los Angeles at a Clipper game, I guess he was out in L.A. attending a Clippers game over the weekend, and he had said that he intends to play on Sunday for sure. Now, listening to the station that I intern at, they had Wes Hokowitz, who's a writer for the Green Bay Press Gazette, and he's saying it's probably more somewhere in between. but he would lean more on Rodgers not being able to play this week. But I guess he's going to have some tests this week to check it out, check the bone out. But it's 50-50 at this point if Rodgers is going to play or not. Rodgers says he is. The team's leaning towards he's not. So we'll see what happens.
And that's going to go back to one of the rambles we had, Evan. You and I discussed this up front. If the Packers are out of playoff contention, should they not play Rodgers? You and I disagreed on that. I said sit him out. You said he should play. And we have Mike on the line yet, so I'm going to let Mike back on and see what Mike thinks about that. And so, hey, Mike, I'm going to bring you back on, and I'm going to propose this question to you. If the Packers are mathematically eliminated from the playoffs, do you think Rodgers, if healthy, should go in and play at the end of the year, or do you think they should sit him?
No, if he's mathematically, if they're mathematically out of it, there is no way you put it in, because this injury, I read up on it a little bit, is one where if he gets hit the wrong way, it can turn into a whole off-season injury where he's out of action. So, in my opinion, when a player says he's going to play and the team says they're leaning the other way, 9 times out of 10, the team is right. So I don't think he's going to play. Here's what I think is going to happen. If they play Atlanta, if they can win without Rodgers, the next game they play at Dallas. That's the game I'm targeting. If they lose to Atlanta, I think they shut them down, because it's they would need a miracle to get over Detroit or to get in the playoffs. So saying all that, boy, I tell you what, I'd love to see him go in there and prove everybody wrong, injured, and take the Packers back to the playoffs. I think that would be one hell of a story. But it's kind of on the other end, it could be it could be a career thing. I mean, at least into next year, if he goes out there and breaks this completely.
Well, I agree with you, Mike. And that's where I'm at. I know, Evan, you're strongly, you say play him no matter what, so we can get some momentum. But I'm with Mike.
Well, he's cleared by the doctors that he's 100%. I don't think you sit him. I don't think you can, because I don't think Rodgers goes for that. I think he is going to put up a huge fight because he's a competitor. He wants to be out there. And, if he is cleared by the doctors, you're good to go. I think you got to play him.
Yeah, I mean, it's going to be a big debate. I'm on that side, though, and I kind of have to agree with Mike that, based on the injury, if he is cleared, I mean, it better be 100%. I think the doctors are being very cautious with him. I think the Packer doctors understand the severity of this, and I don't think he's going to get cleared until he's actually 100% anyway. And so, the thing is, as we move along, we've got a little bit longer rest from the Thanksgiving Day game. Maybe a miracle happens and Rodgers can play. That would be great. I would love to see the Packers reel off 4 in a row, get to 9-6-1, see the Lions stumble a little bit, finish 9-7, and we win the division. I mean, but I think at that point, I have to then put myself into la-la land thinking that's nearly impossible. I mean, it's still possible. But again, Evan and Mike, if you're a loyal listener, I'm just an idiot with an opinion. But I would love for that to happen. Nothing more than that. But realistically, I'm looking at it going, man, this is going to be an uphill battle. And I just don't know where we're going to go from here. So, Evan, with that said, we have 10 minutes left. And it came up on Twitter. It was on Friday. And our friend Mark had tweeted, he thought that the team gave up. And it looks like the team is not playing with any passion. The team is not out there competing. What's your take on that? Do you think the team's given up?
Just a tough question to ask, because I don't think they gave up per se. I just think they're outmanned right now. And you look at this roster as a whole, and Bill Michaels on his show Friday did this. He looked at the roster from, position by position breakdown. And with the injury that the Packers have had at different positions, no Casey Hayward, they don't have Lattimore as a sub right now for linebacker. A.J. Hawk and Brad Jones are below average. Hawk I would give average, but they're average or below. The defense doesn't have a leader, doesn't have a impact player, outside of Clay Matthews. I don't think it's so much that they gave up. I think they're just outmanned right now. And I think with the personnel that they do have, especially on the defensive side of the ball, Capers doesn't have a whole lot to work with on the defensive side of the ball for those that fit what he does on the 3-4. He's got, Mike Neal playing outside linebacker who's a natural defensive end. He's got Nick Perry playing outside linebacker who's a defensive end. He's got Morgan Burnett who's been below average lately. And the other safety next to him shouldn't be on an NFL roster right now. So I don't think it's so much that they gave up. I just think they're so outmanned right now. And then if you look at the offensive side of the ball with, the third and fourth string quarterbacks in there, I'm going to, call Flynn fourth string because he is the fourth guy to start. Third and fourth string quarterback in there to go along with the offensive line of Marshall Newhouse at guard and TJ Lang at center. I just think they're outmanned. I wouldn't necessarily say they gave up because I for one don't like questioning somebody's heart, but it's hard to say. It looked like they gave up, but I just think it was more that they were outmanned.
Well, I'm going to be on your side, Evan. And I'm going to bring in my prior coaching and my prior playing days. I've been in games, and again, soccer player, not a football player, but I've been on the side of defeat and very lopsided. I'm talking soccer games where I was on a side of a 5-6-0 loss, and in soccer, that's a huge number. And I've been on that type, and you don't so much give up as that you lose your confidence. Nothing you do is going right.
Yeah.
Every time you touch the ball, a pass that you've made, and I'll use myself personally for an example. A pass that I would have made 9 times out of 10 right on the money, all of a sudden I'm questioning whether or not I can put it on his guy's foot. I'm questioning whether or not I can make that chip across the field to switch the field. And I think that's what we saw Thursday. We saw total domination by the other team, which crushed the confidence that the Packers had. Therefore, they question everything they're doing. And you and I both know, when you're on the field playing, you can't question what you're doing. It's natural instinct has to take over. The practice has to take over. And all of those things, that's how the game is played. When you start questioning whether or not you're doing it the right way, whether or not it's going to work, you're defeated. And I think that's what happened on Thursday. Now, I think moving forward, this is an NFL team. This is a professional team. I don't think they've lost confidence in Mike McCarthy. I don't even want to say they've lost confidence in Capers. I just don't agree. I agree with you that I'm not sure what he's doing is fitting in with the skill set of the players that we have. And I think that's the problem we're seeing. So I don't think they've lost confidence in the coaching staff, but I think they've lost confidence in our quarterback play. I would say that I don't think anybody really on that team, including the wide receivers, you could see the look on their face, is the frustration of being able to get them the ball. The route running is set up to be so precise for timing. And a lot of that, it goes back to the injury, but we can't make up an excuse, right? We are using, like you said, a 4th-string quarterback in Matt Flynn, a guy that wasn't on the roster to begin the year, and it just kills.
Guys that weren't on the roster to begin the year, really. Supposedly it was practice squad.
And so that's where our season is. It's in the hands of these guys that will probably never start another NFL game after this year. And so when I look at it, I just hope that when we can, put the pads on, go back to practice, get ready for Atlanta, be able to prepare and go out and play, because we've got an opportunity to beat an Atlanta team that has fallen way below expectations, a team that I think we can beat, and we'll definitely, we'll preview that game on Thursday. But I just hope they haven't lost confidence in themselves. And they've got to go out and they've got to practice hard. They've got to get all pumped up, put this game behind them, and be able to prepare. Because even though we think it's a long climb to the playoffs, crazier things happen in this world of the NFL, Evan. I mean, if they go out and win 4 in a row, things could happen. I mean, we don't know what's going to happen to the Lions. And even if the Bears win 3 in a row and we beat them on the last game of the year, they finish 9-7. We finish 9-6-1. So really what we need is for the Lions to stumble. I think the wild card is not even an option. I mean, you got the 49ers now at 8-4. Carolina's 9-3. Even if the Saints lose tonight, that puts them at 9-3. We have to win the division, and it's good.
The Cardinals too.
Yeah, we've got.
The Cardinals are ahead of the Packers too.
Yeah, there's no way to get into the wild card. I mean, mathematically, they're not eliminated, but it's got to be through the division right now. And so, I mean, we've got that glimmer of hope, but I mean, right now we've got so many question marks. Well, we're just going to have to see what product goes out on the field Sunday. And you and I will talk a lot more in depth on Thursday in the Packer preview. But, with that said, Evan, I think we've exhausted this conversation today. I think it was a great ramble. I got to thank Mike for calling in. It really added to the show. We've got about just under 4 minutes left, Evan. So as always, I'm going to let you recap with your last thoughts to the listeners. And, the thank yous to all of our, I guess we call them contributors to the Red Light Sports Ramble, bud.
Well, last comment I'm going to make, and we can go more into detail with this later in the week, but, and I'm not saying get rid of him, but if I were to put one finger on the person who to blame for this season is, I would put him right at the general manager, Ted Thompson. And I can go into more detail when we have more time on the reason why. But, that's the thought I'm going to end it. And I guess for our listeners, let us know, tweet at us. I'm at E1250 Intern. You're
at Red Light Ramble.
On Twitter?
Yep, on Twitter.
Red Light Ramble. Facebook us. Red Light Ramble?
Red Light Ramble.
Okay. Yep, Red Light Ramble. Email us, redlightsportsramble@gmail.com. And let us know what you think. Is Ted Thompson to blame for this season? So I'm just going to kind of leave it at that and then say thank you to the listeners. Thank you to Cass at your daily CowboysFootballFix.com. We get a lot of feedback from there, so just thank you to everybody and keep listening and keep contributing.
Well, with that said, bud, we're going to wrap it up for today. As always, I appreciate you co-hosting the show with me. It's always a pleasure. For all our fans out there, we'll see you at the next red light. Have a great day.